The sheets still smelled like them. Emily's hands shook as she stuffed clothes into a bag she'd hidden under the bed 3 days ago. Her wolf whimpered, clawing at her ribs, begging her to stop. To go back to the bed where 2 kings still slept, their bodies tangled in silk that cost more than most wolves earned in a year. She didn't look back. Couldn't. Pine and ash. That's what they smelled like. Darius, cold and controlled even in sleep, his scent sharp like winter wind. Lysander, all fire and chaos, smoke that burned going down. Both of them had marked her skin with teeth that hadn't broken through, with hands that knew exactly how to make her forget every reason she'd sworn never to let anyone close again. One night. That's all it was supposed to be. Emily pulled on her boots, her fingers fumbling with the laces. The pre-dawn light cut through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the royal suite, painting everything in shades of gray. Outside, the kingdom of Ashmont sprawled beneath. Them, thousands of wolves who would hunt her the moment the kings gave the order, and they would give that order. Her wolf knew it, could feel the mate bond settling into place like chains wrapping around her lungs. They'd felt it too. She'd seen recognition flash in Darius's eyes right before he'd kissed her, had heard Lysander's sharp intake of breath when her scent hit him fully, unmasked by the alcohol and the club's smoke, and her own desperate attempts to be someone else for one night. Hybrid kings didn't let their mates walk away. Emily slung the bag over her shoulder and moved toward the door. Each step felt like tearing something vital out of her chest. Her wolf howled, furious and betrayed. It wanted to crawl back into that bed, wanted to wake them with soft touches and softer words, wanted to accept what her body was screaming they were meant to be. But Emily had learned the hard way that fate didn't care about timing, didn't care that she was broken, didn't care about the secret growing in her belly that would destroy everything the moment they discovered it. Her hand closed around the door handle. Leaving without saying goodbye? Emily's heart stopped. She turned slowly. Darius stood in the doorway to the bathroom, a towel slung low around his hips. Water dripped from his dark hair, tracing paths down a chest that looked carved from stone. His eyes, silver like a blade catching moonlight, pinned her in place. He knew. God, he knew. "I have to go," Emily said. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "No, you don't. You don't know anything about me. I know you're my mate." Darius moved closer, not fast. Predators didn't rush when their prey was already cornered. "I know you felt it the same way I did. I know you're terrified, and I know that bag means you've been planning this since before you even came to our bed." Emily's throat tightened. She hadn't planned it, had fought against it, had told herself one night wouldn't matter, that she could take what she needed and disappear before the bond snapped into place. She'd been wrong. "Let me leave," Emily whispered. "Please. Give me one reason why I should. Because I'm carrying a child that isn't yours. Because if you find out what I am, you'll kill me. Because I can't watch another mate destroy me." But she couldn't say any of that, so she said the only thing that might work. "Because I don't want this." Darius's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. Pain, maybe, or recognition. Liar. Movement behind him. Lysander appeared, pulling on pants, his hair wild from sleep and her fingers. Where Darius was ice, Lysander was flame. Tattoos covered his arms, ancient hybrid markings that proved royal blood. His eyes, gold like a wolf's, but slit like a dragon's, burned through her. "She's running," Lysander said. Not a question. "Yes," Darius replied. "Then we hunt." Emily's pulse spiked. She stepped back, her shoulders hitting the door. "I'm not some prey you get to chase." Lysander smiled. It wasn't kind. "Yes, you are. You've been prey since the moment you walked into that club wearing a scent mask, pretending you weren't looking for exactly what we gave you." Heat flooded Emily's face, because he was right. She had been looking, had been desperate and lonely and so tired of being invisible that she'd walked into the most dangerous place in the kingdom just to feel something real. And she'd found them, twin hybrid kings who'd looked at her like she was the only thing in the room that mattered. "One night," Emily said. "That's all this was. You don't believe that. Darius was close now, close enough that his scent wrapped around her like a living thing. Your wolf is screaming at you to stay. My wolf doesn't make my decisions. Then you're stronger than most. His hand lifted, fingers brushing her jaw so gently it hurt. But not strong enough to run from this. Emily jerked away. She couldn't think when he touched her. Couldn't remember all the reasons this was wrong. Watch me. She yanked the door open and ran. Behind her, Lysander laughed, low and dangerous. She thinks she can actually get away. Darius's voice followed her down the hall, calm and absolute. Let her run. We'll find her. Emily didn't stop, didn't slow. She hit the stairs and took them 3 at a time, her bag slamming against her back. Guards posted at each level looked up as she passed, but none of them moved to stop her. Why would they? She was just an Omega leaving the royal suite. It happened. They had no idea she was running from their kings. The lobby blurred past. Dawn light spilled through massive windows, turning everything gold. Emily shoved through the main doors and hit the street. Cold air slapped her face, sharp enough to clear her head. She ran. Past early morning vendors setting up stalls. Past guards changing shifts. Past wolves who barely glanced at her because Omega's running through the capital at dawn wasn't unusual. But Emily's scent was. She'd worn a masking perfume to the club, had layered it thick enough to hide what she was. But that perfume was gone now, burned away by heat and sweat and the king's mouths on her skin. Now she smelled like herself, like Omega, like mate. And worse, she smelled like them. Emily ducked into an alley, pressed her back against cold stone. Her lungs burned. Her wolf snarled, fighting her every step. The bond pulled tight, a rope around her ribs, trying to drag her back. She couldn't go back. Her hand pressed against her stomach. Flat still. No visible evidence of the secret she carried. But in a few weeks, her scent would change. Any alpha would be able to smell it. And when Darius and Lysander found out she was pregnant, they'd demand to know who the father was. They'd demand blood tests. They'd discover the truth. And then they'd kill her for it. Emily pushed off the wall and kept running. The capital was waking up. More wolves on the streets now. More eyes. She needed to get to the border, needed to cross into neutral territory before the kings mobilized their forces. But the bond fought her. Every step away felt like dying. Her wolf whimpered. Then it howled. And somewhere across the city, in a royal suite that still smelled like pine and ash and stolen night, 2 hybrid kings' heads snapped up. Their eyes went black, and the hunt began. Darius felt it first, the bond snapping taut like a wire pulled to breaking. He was halfway through pulling on his shirt when the sensation hit, sharp enough to steal his breath. Not pain. Worse. Distance. She was running. Really running. Lysander's growl filled the suite. She thinks she can actually hide from us. Darius buttoned his shirt with controlled precision, even as his hybrid instincts screamed to shift and chase. She's not trying to hide. She's trying to disappear. Same thing. No. Darius moved to the window, eyes scanning the streets below. Dawn traffic was picking up. Vendors. Guards. 100 of wolves moving through the capital like blood through veins. Hiding means she thinks we'll look. Disappearing means she doesn't think we'll find her. Lysander joined him at the window, his reflection sharp with barely leashed violence. Then she doesn't know us very well. She doesn't know us at all. The truth of it settled like a stone in Darius's chest. One night. That's all they'd had. Her name, her taste, the way she'd gasped when he'd kissed the pulse point at her throat. Nothing else. No pack name, no territory, no history, just Emily. And now she was gone. Lysander's hand slammed against the glass. I can still smell her, pine needles and rain. It's everywhere. The sheets, the floor, the goddamn air. Darius could smell it too, could taste it on his tongue like she was still pressed against him. His dragon stirred beneath his skin, furious that its mate had fled. His wolf paced, hackles raised, ready to hunt. but something wasn't right. She planned this, Darius said quietly. The bag was already packed. She knew exactly which door to use, which stairs would be empty at dawn. She's done this before. Lysander went still. Run from a mate bond? Run from something. Darius turned from the window. Call Marcus. I want every guard on the street. I want checkpoints at every border. I want her scent tracked to whatever hole she thinks she can hide in. You think she'll make it to the border? I think she'll try. Darius crossed to the nightstand, pulled open the drawer. Empty. She took the emergency cash I keep here, 3,000 marks. Lysander's laugh was sharp. Smart girl. Desperate girl. Darius's jaw tightened. She's not running on impulse. This was calculated, which means whatever she's afraid of is worse than 2 hybrid kings hunting her across the kingdom. The door burst open. Marcus strode in, the captain of the royal guard, his expression grim. My lords, we have a situation. We know, Lysander snapped. Our mate fled, locked down the city. Marcus's eyes widened fractionally. Mate. The word carried weight that couldn't be ignored. Understood. Description? Omega, Darius said. Dark hair, green eyes, about 5'6", wearing civilian clothes, carrying a leather bag. Her scent is pine and rain. Omega. Marcus repeated the word carefully. My lords, if she's unclaimed, she's claimed. Lysander's voice dropped to something dangerous. Anyone who touches her dies. Marcus nodded once. I'll spread the word. No one approaches. They report location only. And Marcus? Darius caught his gaze. I want to know why an Omega was in the capital alone last night. No pack escort, no guardian, no scent marker indicating bonded status. Find out which pack she belongs to. What if she doesn't have one? The possibility hit like a fist to the chest. Rogue Omegas didn't survive long. They were too vulnerable, too valuable. Packs either absorbed them or alphas claimed them by force, unless they were running from something so terrible that rogue status was safer. Then find out what she's running from, Darius said. Marcus left. The door clicked shut with a finality that made Darius's hybrid instincts scream. Lysander moved to the bed, pressed his palm against the sheets where she'd slept between them. Her scent is changing. Darius's head snapped up. What? It's subtle, but it's there, underneath the pine and rain. Lysander's eyes narrowed. Something sweet, like honey just starting to crystallize. Darius crossed to the bed, inhaled deeply. Lysander was right. The change was barely perceptible, hidden under layers of their own scents and hers. But it was there, and it meant something. Heat? Lysander suggested. No. Darius knew what preheat smelled like. This was different, richer, more complex. It's something else. His phone buzzed. Darius pulled it out, read the message from Marcus. His blood went cold. What? Lysander demanded. City cameras caught her heading east, toward the lower district. That's the opposite direction from the border. Exactly. Darius pulled up the security footage on his phone. Grainy images showed Emily moving through narrow streets, her bag clutched tight, her head down. She's not trying to leave the kingdom. She's trying to get lost in it. The lower district was a maze. Tight alleys, crowded markets, buildings stacked so close together that sunlight barely reached the ground. Hundreds of wolves lived there, their scents mixing into an impenetrable wall that made tracking nearly impossible. She'd known exactly where to go. Lysander swore viciously. She's been here before, to the capital, to the lower district. This wasn't some random club visit. No. Darius's mind raced. She came here for a reason, and whatever that reason was, it led her to us. You think she targeted us? I think she ended up at the same club we did, and I think when the bond hit, she panicked. Lysander's jaw clenched. Because she's already running from something. Yes. The phone buzzed again. Another message from Marcus. 2 words that made Darius's hybrid roar beneath his skin. Lost her. No. Lysander grabbed the phone, read the message. No, that's impossible. We have guards on every corner. Not in the lower district. Darius was already moving, pulling on his jacket. That territory belongs to the Merchant Guild. They don't answer to us. Then we make them answer. Darius paused at the door. We can't force this, Lysander. If we go in there with the full weight of the crown, she'll hear about it. She'll run deeper. So what do you suggest? We just let her go? No. Darius's eyes flashed silver, his dragon rising. We hunt, but we do it smart. We use the bond. Lysander's expression shifted. Understanding dawned sharp and predatory. She can feel us too. Every step she takes away hurts her the same way it hurts us. Maybe more. Darius could feel it now, the bond pulling tight. Not painful yet, but getting there. She'll have to stop eventually, to breathe, to think, and when she does, we'll be there. They moved as one, out of the suite, down the stairs, past guards who stepped aside without question. The morning air hit sharp and cold, carrying 1,000 scents, but only one that mattered. Pine and rain and something sweet that neither of them could name. Darius closed his eyes, let his hybrid senses expand. The bond thrummed beneath his skin like a compass pointing true north. East, still east. She was moving fast, but not fast enough. I can feel her, Lysander said, his voice rough. She's scared. Good. Darius opened his eyes. Fear makes people careless. They shifted, not fully, just enough to let their hybrid speed take over. Faster than wolves, stronger than dragons, the perfect predators. The city blurred past. Darius and Lysander moved through shadows, across rooftops, using paths regular wolves couldn't follow. The bond pulled them forward like a leash they controlled. Emily thought she could run. She didn't understand what hybrid kings were capable of. The lower district opened before them, narrow streets choked with bodies, market stalls selling everything from stolen goods to illegal potions, wolves who didn't ask questions and didn't answer them. Perfect place to hide, terrible place to be hunted. Darius dropped into an alley, Lysander landing beside him. Their boots hit stone without sound. Around them the district thrummed with life, voices overlapping, scents mixing, chaos that should have made tracking impossible, but the bond cut through all of it. There, Lysander pointed, a flash of dark hair, a leather bag, a woman moving too fast through a crowd that barely noticed her. Emily. Darius's hybrid surged, every instinct screamed to chase, to catch, to claim, but he forced control. She was close, so close. If they spooked her now, they might not get another chance. Slow approach, Darius murmured. Don't let her see us yet. They moved, like smoke, through the crowd. Emily was 50 feet ahead, then 40, then 30. She stopped at a stall selling herbs and tinctures. Her hand trembled as she pointed to something. The vendor, an old wolf with cloudy eyes, leaned in close. Too close. Lysander's growl was subvocal. He's scenting her. I know. The vendor's expression changed. Shock, then something darker. His hand reached for Emily's wrist. She jerked back, dropped coins on the counter, grabbed whatever she'd purchased and ran. The vendor watched her go. Then his eyes swept the crowd, and landed directly on Darius. The old wolf's face went pale. He knew exactly who they were, knew exactly who Emily was to them. Darius held his gaze for 3 seconds. A silent command. Say nothing. The vendor nodded once, then melted back into his stall. He smelled it, Lysander said. Whatever's changing in her scent. He recognized it. Yes. What is it? Darius didn't answer, because the truth was settling into his bones, with certainty that felt like fate. That sweetness in her scent. The desperation in her eyes. The way she'd run from them like her life depended on it. Emily wasn't just afraid of the mate bond. She was afraid of what they'd do when they discovered she was already pregnant, and the child wasn't theirs. Emily's hands shook as she uncorked the bottle. The scent blocker was cheap, the kind that burned going on and barely lasted 3 hours. but it was all the vendor had been willing to sell her before his eyes went wide and his hand shot out like he wanted to grab her. She'd run before he could. Now she crouched in the narrow space between two buildings, the alley so tight her shoulders nearly touched both walls. Somewhere above, laundry lines crisscrossed like spider webs. Somewhere below, rats scurried through garbage that hadn't been collected in weeks. The lower district didn't care about cleanliness. It cared about survival. Emily poured the blocker into her palm. The smell hit. Immediately, acrid and chemical, designed to overwhelm natural scent. She rubbed it across her throat, her wrists, behind her ears. Anywhere a wolf might scent her. Her wolf whimpered in protest, hated the false smell, hated hiding what they were. "Shut up," Emily whispered. "You got us into this." That wasn't fair. Her wolf hadn't dragged her to that club, hadn't made her dance with strangers until two men appeared through the crowd like fate made flesh, hadn't begged them to take her somewhere private where the music couldn't drown out her thoughts anymore. That had all been Emily, stupid, reckless, desperate, and now she was paying for it. The bond pulled tight against her ribs. She pressed her hand there, trying to ease the ache. It didn't help. The mate bond didn't care about distance or scent blockers, or the fact that accepting it would destroy everything. It just wanted them. Emily corked the bottle, shoved it into her bag. She had maybe 2 hours before the blocker wore off. 2 hours to get across the city to the eastern gate. From there, she could catch a transport heading into neutral territory. No kingdoms, no kings. No hybrid alphas who looked at her like she was something precious instead of ruined. She could disappear. Start over, raise her child somewhere safe. Her hand moved to her stomach, still flat, still secret. But in a few weeks, any wolf with decent senses would smell it. The sweetness that came with early pregnancy, the change in hormones that announced new life. And if Darius and Lysander caught her before then, Emily couldn't finish the thought. She stood, slung her bag over her shoulder, and stepped back into the main street. The market was fully awake now. Vendors shouting prices, wolves haggling over everything from vegetables to black market potions. The scents hit her in waves, overwhelming and thick. Sweat and spices and something burning somewhere close. Perfect cover. Emily pulled her hood up and moved into the crowd. She kept her head down, her steps quick, but not running. Running drew attention. Running said prey. She'd learned that the hard way. A hand caught her elbow. Emily spun, her wolf surging with panic. An old woman stared at her with milky eyes. "You're being hunted, girl." Emily jerked her arm free. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do." The woman's grip had been stronger than it looked. "I can smell them on you. The hybrid kings. Their scent is all over your skin." Ice flooded Emily's veins. The scent blocker should have hidden that. Should have covered everything, unless it was too late. Unless she'd waited too long and their scents had already soaked into her so deep that chemicals couldn't touch it. "They're close," the old woman continued. "I saw them pass through here 10 minutes ago, moving like death itself." "Which direction?" The woman pointed north, away from where Emily was heading. Relief lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then Emily understood. They'd gone north to cut her off, to trap her between their position and the market's southern exit. "You need to leave," the old woman said. "Now, before they circle back." "Why are you helping me?" Something sad crossed the woman's face. "Because I know what it's like to run from a bond you can't accept. And I know what happens when kings decide you belong to them whether you want it or not." Emily's throat tightened. She wanted to ask what happened, wanted to know if the woman escaped or if the kings caught her and broke her into something compliant, but there wasn't time. "Thank you," Emily whispered. The woman nodded once, then she melted back into the crowd like she'd never been there at all. Emily turned east and ran, not a full sprint. That would draw too much attention, but fast enough that her lungs started to burn and her bag slammed against her back with every step. The crowd thinned as she moved away from the main market. Buildings pressed closer here. The streets narrowed to passages barely wide. Enough for 2 wolves to pass. Perfect for losing pursuers. Terrible for escape if they caught up. Emily's wolf growled a warning half a second before she smelled it. Pine and ash. They were behind her. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She didn't look back. Didn't need to. Could feel them like pressure against her spine. The bond pulling tight enough to hurt now. They'd caught her scent despite the blocker. Emily turned down an even narrower alley. Her shoulder scraped against stone. The passage twisted left, then right, then opened into a small courtyard surrounded by abandoned buildings. Dead end. No. Emily spun, searching for an exit. A door. A window. Anything. There. A fire escape hanging from the building's north side. Rusted and probably unstable, but it led up. Up meant rooftops. Rooftops meant paths the twins couldn't follow without shifting fully, and full shifts in the middle of the city were illegal even for kings. Emily grabbed the lowest rung and pulled herself up. The metal groaned but held. She climbed fast, her hands slipping on rust and old rain. The second floor, the third, the fourth, almost there. Emily. Her name spoken in Darius's voice froze her mid-climb. She looked down. They stood at the courtyard entrance. Darius on the left, controlled and cold as winter. Lysander on the right, all barely leashed violence, both of them staring up at her like predators who'd finally cornered their prey. "Come down," Darius said. Not a command. Somehow worse. A request that assumed compliance. "No," Lysander smiled. "Then we'll come up. The fire escape won't hold all three of us. Good thing we don't need it." Lysander's eyes flashed gold. Dragon eyes. He crouched, muscles coiling. He was going to jump. Hybrid strength could clear 4 stories without breaking a sweat. Emily scrambled higher. The roof was right there. 10 more feet. 5. A hand closed around her ankle. She looked down. Lysander hung from the fire escape below her, his grip iron. "Got you." "Let go." "Not a chance." Emily kicked. Her boot connected with his jaw hard enough to snap his head back. He didn't let go, didn't even flinch, just smiled with blood on his teeth. "She fights," Lysander called down to Darius. "I like it." "Let her go," Darius said. Lysander's eyes narrowed. "What?" "Let her go." For a moment, Lysander didn't move. Then his hand opened. Emily's ankle came free. She didn't wait to understand why. Just climbed the last few feet and hauled herself onto the roof. The city sprawled before her. Buildings packed so tight they touched. Rooftops creating a highway only wolves who knew the district could navigate. Emily knew them. She'd spent 3 months hiding here 2 years ago, before the pregnancy, before everything fell apart the first time. She ran. Behind her, she heard the fire escape shriek as metal tore free from stone, heard it crash into the courtyard below, heard Lysander's creative cursing. The building next door, Darius's voice, carried up. "We can cut her off." Emily ran harder, jumped the gap between her building and the next. The landing jarred her bones, but she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. The bond screamed at her, pain lancing through her chest, her wolf howling, every instinct demanding she go back, submit, accept. She ignored all of it. 2 more buildings. 3. The gaps between them growing wider, more dangerous. Emily jumped without thinking. Her fingers caught the opposite ledge. For one terrible second she hung there, feet dangling over a 4-story drop. Then hands closed around her wrists and pulled her up. She crashed onto solid roof, gasping. Looked up expecting a stranger. Found Darius instead. He knelt beside her, his silver eyes burning. "You could have died. Better than the alternative." "Which is what? Being mated to us?" His voice was too calm, too controlled. "What the hell are you so afraid of, Emily?" "Everything. You. This bond. What happens when you find out the truth?" But she couldn't say that. So she said nothing. Darius's jaw tightened. "I can feel your fear through the bond. It's choking you. Choking us. Whatever you think we're going to do to you, you don't know what you're going to do." Emily pushed herself up, put distance between them. "You don't know me. Don't know what I've done. What I'm carrying." The last word slipped out before she could stop it. Darius went very still. What you're carrying? Emily's hand moved to her stomach before she could stop it. His eyes followed the movement. Understanding dawned slow and terrible across his face. You're pregnant. It wasn't a question. Emily's world tilted. She'd been so careful, had hidden it so well. But one slip, one moment of lost control, and now he knew. It's not yours, she whispered. Darius's expression didn't change. I know. Then you know why I ran. No. He stood slowly, like she might bolt again. I know why you think you had to run, but you're wrong. You don't want another man's child. I want my mate. His voice was rough, raw. I want the woman who looked at me last night like I was the only thing in the world that mattered. I want the Omega who's so terrified of being hurt again that she'd rather jump between buildings than let us close. Emily's throat closed. You don't mean that. Yes, I do. You'll change your mind when... I won't. Darius took a step closer. Whatever happened to you before, whoever hurt you, we're not him. We're not them. And that child... His eyes dropped to her stomach again. Is yours, which means it's ours too. Tears burned behind Emily's eyes. She blinked them back furiously. You can't just decide that. Watch me. Footsteps on the roof behind them. Lysander appeared, blood still smeared on his chin from where she'd kicked him. His eyes went from Emily to Darius and back again. What did I miss? She's pregnant, Darius said. Lysander's eyebrows shot up. Then, impossibly, he smiled. Well, that explains the... running. Emily stared at him. You're not angry? Why would I be angry? You think I care if the kid's biologically mine? Lysander moved closer, flanking her with Darius. I care that you're ours. The rest is just details. Those details matter. Not to us, Darius said. Emily looked between them, at two hybrid kings who should have been furious, who should have rejected her the moment they learned the truth. Instead, they stood there like the pregnancy changed nothing, like she was still worth claiming. Her wolf whimpered, wanted so badly to believe them, but Emily had believed before, had trusted before, had let herself think that maybe, just maybe, someone could want her exactly as she was, and she'd been destroyed for it. I can't do this, Emily said. Her voice broke. I can't let you close just to watch you leave when it gets hard. Then don't let us close yet, Darius said. Just stop running long enough to see that we mean it. How? Come back with us. To the palace. No. Claiming. No ceremony. Just time. Lysander added. And food. You look like you haven't eaten in days. Despite everything, Emily almost laughed. Almost. And if I say no? Then we follow you, Darius said simply. Across the kingdom, across the continent, across the world if we have to. Because you're ours, Emily, and we protect what's ours. The bond hummed between all three of them, not pulling anymore, just present, inevitable. Emily's hand pressed against her stomach where her secret grew. She was so tired of running. One day, she whispered, I'll give you one day. Darius's smile was small but real. That's all we need. The storm hit before they reached the palace. One moment the sky was gray and threatening. The next, rain slammed down like the heavens had split open. Thunder cracked so loud, Emily felt it in her bones. There! Lysander pointed to a building 3 blocks ahead. Safe house. They ran. Not the desperate flight from before, but together this time. Darius on. Her left, Lysander on her right, both of them positioned to shield her from the worst of the wind. Emily's wolf noticed, preened under the attention even as Emily tried to ignore it. The safe house was small, brick and mortar tucked between 2 larger buildings like an afterthought. Lysander produced a key from somewhere, unlocked the door, and ushered them inside. The space was sparse. One main room with a kitchenette, a bathroom barely big enough to turn around in, and a single bed pushed against the far wall. One bed. Emily's pulse kicked up for reasons that had nothing to do with running. "It's dry," Darius said, like that made everything fine. He shrugged out of his jacket, water dripping onto worn floorboards. Better than being out there. Lysander was already moving to the kitchenette, opening cabinets. Canned soup, stale crackers, someone's emergency whiskey. He held up the bottle. "This place has everything." Emily stood near the door, dripping and shivering. Her clothes were soaked through. Her bag felt like it weighed 50 pounds, and the bond hummed between all three of them, amplified by proximity and the storm's pressure. "You need to change," Darius said. He opened a closet, pulled out a towel and clothes that looked military standard, plain, functional, probably kept here for exactly this kind of situation. "Before you freeze." Emily took the offered items without meeting his eyes. "Thank you." The bathroom was exactly as small as it looked. Emily locked the door even though she knew it wouldn't keep them out if they really wanted in. Hybrid kings didn't let things like doors stop them, but they hadn't tried to follow. That counted for something. She peeled off wet clothes with numb fingers. Her skin was pale, covered in goosebumps. The mirror showed dark circles under her eyes, hair plastered to her skull, the unmistakable look of someone who'd been running on fumes for too long. This was what they wanted? This exhausted, pregnant, broken thing. Emily dried off and pulled on the borrowed clothes. The pants were too long. The shirt hung loose, but they were warm and dry, and that was enough. When she emerged, Lysander had soup heating on a small camp stove. Darius stood at the window, watching rain turn the street outside into a river. "Storm's getting worse," he said without turning. "We're stuck here until it passes." "How long?" "Few hours, maybe more." Hours. Trapped in a single room with two hybrid kings and a mate bond that got stronger every second she spent near them. Emily's wolf was practically vibrating with happiness. Emily wanted to scream. "Sit," Lysander gestured to the small table. "Food's almost ready." "I'm not hungry." "Yes, you are. I can hear your stomach from here." Emily's traitorous body chose that moment to growl, loud enough that even she couldn't deny it. Lysander's grin was insufferable. "Told you." She sat because arguing took energy she didn't have. The chair was hard and uncomfortable. The table wobbled. But when Lysander set a bowl of soup in front of her, the smell hit, and suddenly she was starving. She ate without tasting, mechanically, spooning soup into her mouth until the bowl was empty, and her stomach finally stopped cramping. "Better?" Darius had moved from the window. He sat across from her now, his silver eyes tracking every movement. "Yes." "When did you eat last?" Emily tried to remember. "Yesterday morning, maybe." Lysander swore softly. "You've been running for almost 24 hours on an empty stomach while pregnant." "I didn't exactly have time to stop for brunch." "You could have died." Darius's voice was too quiet, too controlled. "Collapsed in some alley where we'd never find you. Would have made things easier." The words came out before she could stop them. Both kings went very still. "Easier for who?" Lysander's playfulness was gone. "For you? Or for us?" Emily stared at her empty bowl. "Everyone." Darius leaned forward. "You think your death would make things easier?" "I think it would solve a lot of problems." "Name one." "The bond you didn't ask for. The mate who's already carrying another man's child. The complication I represent to your rule." Emily's hands curled into fists on the table. "Should I keep going?" "Yes," Darius said. "Keep going until you run out of lies." Her eyes snapped to his. "Those aren't lies." "You're right. They're facts. But you're using them like weapons against yourself." His expression was hard, unyielding. "The bond exists whether we asked for it or not. The child is yours, which makes it precious. And you don't complicate our rule. You complete it." "You don't know that." "I know enough." Thunder cracked overhead. The lights flickered but held. Lysander refilled her bowl without asking. Eat more. I'm full. You're eating for two. You're not full. Emily wanted to argue, wanted to push back against the casual way he gave orders like he had any right to tell her what to do, but her stomach was already reaching for the bowl before her brain caught up. She ate slower this time, actually tasted it. Plain vegetable soup from a can, but warm and filling and exactly what she needed. Tell us about the father, Darius said. Emily's spoon froze halfway to her mouth. No. Why not? Because it's none of your business. You're our mate. Everything about you is our business. We're not mated yet. Emily set the spoon down carefully. You said no claiming, no ceremony. That means you don't get to interrogate me about my past. Lysander made a frustrated sound. We're not interrogating. We're trying to understand. Understand what? Why you're so terrified. Darius's eyes never left her face. Why you'd rather run yourself into the ground than let us close. Why you think a child changes anything about what we want. Because it always changes things. Because every alpha who'd ever promised to stay left the moment things got complicated. Because Emily had learned the hard way that love was conditional and she'd already used up all her chances. But she couldn't say that. Couldn't lay herself open like that. So she said the thing she knew would hurt them instead. He didn't want it, the baby, told me to get rid of it or leave. Emily's voice was flat, empty. So I left. Silence fell like a physical weight. Then Lysander spoke, his voice carrying a violence that made her wolf whimper. Where is he? Gone. Dead. I don't know and I don't care. If he's alive, you'll do nothing. Emily met his burning gold eyes. Because it's over. He made his choice. I made mine. End of story. That's not the end, Darius said quietly. That's just where you stop trusting anyone to be different. The accuracy of it hit like a blow. Emily stood too fast. The chair scraped against the floor. I need air. It's pouring rain. I don't care. She moved toward the door. Darius was there first, not blocking her exactly, just present, solid, unmovable. Let me out, Emily said. No. You said I could leave whenever I wanted. I said we wouldn't force the bond. His hand came up, not touching her, but close enough that she felt the heat of it. I never said I'd let you destroy yourself. That's not your choice to make. You're right. It's yours. His voice softened. But I'm asking you to choose differently. Just for tonight. Stay. Let yourself be safe for a few hours. I am safe. You're surviving. That's not the same thing. Emily's throat tightened. She wanted to argue, wanted to push past him and run back into the storm, because at least Rain couldn't see through her the way he did. But she was so tired. Tired of running. Tired of fighting. Tired of pretending she didn't feel the bond pulling her toward them like gravity. I hate this, she whispered. I know. I hate that you found me. Hate that the bond exists. Hate that my wolf wants you even when I know better. Okay, Emily blinked. Okay? You're allowed to hate it. You're allowed to be angry and scared and resentful. Darius's hand finally made contact, fingers brushing her jaw with devastating gentleness. But stay anyway. The touch burned, not with pain, with something worse, want, need, the desperate craving for someone to see her and not look away. Lysander appeared behind her, not crowding, just there. We're not him, Emily, whoever he was, whatever he did. We're not going to abandon you when things get hard. You say that now. And we'll keep saying it until you believe it. The storm raged outside, thunder and lightning and wind that rattled the windows. But inside this small room, 3 people stood frozen in a moment that felt like a choice. Stay or go. Trust or run. Except that maybe, just maybe, these kings meant what they said. Or keep protecting herself until protection became prison. Emily's hand moved to her stomach, to the life growing there that deserved better than a mother who was too afraid to let anyone help carry the weight. One night, she said finally. I'll stay one night. Darius's relief was visible, brief but real. Lysander's hand found her shoulder, squeezed once. That's all we're asking. Emily pulled away from both of them. Needed distance, needed to breathe air that didn't smell like pine and ash, and promises she wanted too badly to believe. She moved to the window, pressed her forehead against cool glass, watched rain distort the world outside into something unrecognizable. Behind her, she heard quiet movement, Lysander cleaning up the dishes, Darius doing something she couldn't identify. The bond hummed, pleased, content that all three of them were together in the same space. Emily's wolf purred. Traitor. You should sleep, Darius said. You're exhausted. There's only one bed. We'll take the floor. Both of you? Both of us. Emily turned to look at them. Two hybrid kings offering to sleep on the floor so she could have the bed. Like her comfort mattered more than their pride. That's ridiculous, Lysander shrugged. We've slept in worse places. The bed is big enough for three. Both kings went very still, Emily's face heated. I just meant it's stupid for you to be uncomfortable when there's space, that's all. Are you sure? Darius asked carefully. No, she wasn't sure of anything. But the alternative was lying alone in that bed while they stayed 3 feet away on the hard floor, and the bond screamed at all of them to stop being stupid. I'm sure, Emily lied. Thunder cracked again. The lights flickered. This time they went out completely. Darkness swallowed the room. Emily's breath caught. She heard movement. Then a hand found hers in the dark. Warm and steady and unmistakably Darius. We've got you, he said quietly. Another hand at her back. Lysander, guiding her toward the bed without pushing. They moved together through the dark. Emily's heart hammered against her ribs. This was insane. Sharing a bed with two hybrid kings she barely knew, whose bond hummed with want neither side could fully deny. But when she lay down on the mattress, and they settled on either side of her, not touching but close enough that she felt their heat, something in her chest loosened. For the first time in months, she didn't feel hunted. She felt protected, and that terrified her more than anything else. Emily woke to darkness and warmth. For one disoriented moment, she couldn't remember where she was. Then the scents registered, pine and ash, the steady breathing on either side of her, the weight of an arm draped carefully across her waist. Lysander. Even in sleep, he gravitated toward her like she might disappear if he stopped touching. Emily should have moved, should have put distance between them, but exhaustion had carved holes in her defenses, and the truth was, she felt safer than she had in months. That was the problem. Safety was an illusion, a trick people played on themselves right before everything fell apart. You're thinking too loud. Darius's voice cut through the dark. I can feel it through the bond. Emily's eyes adjusted enough to make out his shape. He lay on his back, hands behind his head, staring at the ceiling. Can't sleep? She asked. Can't stop thinking. About what? You. He turned his head, silver eyes catching what little light filtered through the storm-dark windows. About whoever hurt you badly enough that you'd rather risk dying alone than trust us. Emily's throat tightened. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. Why? Because I need to know what we're fighting against. Darius shifted onto his side, facing her. Lysander's arm tightened unconsciously around her waist, but he didn't wake. Is it just fear, or is there something else? Something you're not telling us? Everything. She was holding back everything. The storm had quieted to steady rain, the kind that would last for hours, trapping them here together. Emily closed her eyes. His name was Garrett. Darius went still, listening. He was a beta, nothing special. No title, no power, just a decent wolf who worked construction in a pack 2 territories over from where I grew up. The words came slowly, dragged up from somewhere Emily had buried them deep. I met him at a trade gathering. He smiled at me like I was worth looking at, like I mattered. You do matter. Not then, not to anyone who counted. Emily's hand moved to her stomach, a habit now. I was just another packless omega. My parents died when I was 16. rogue attack. The pack took me in out of obligation, not kindness. I worked in the kitchens, kept my head down, tried not to be a burden. Darius made a sound that might have been a growl. They treated you like a servant. They treated me like what I was. Omega with no family, no protection, no value except what I could provide. Emily opened her eyes, stared at the dark ceiling. Garrett was the first person who acted like I was more than that. He courted me properly, brought me flowers, walked me home after my shifts, asked permission before he kissed me. You fell in love with him. I fell in love with the idea of not being alone. The distinction mattered. When he asked me to leave with him, to come to his pack, I said yes immediately. Thought finally, I'd have somewhere I belonged. The silence stretched. Rain drummed against the roof. What happened? Darius asked quietly. Emily's laugh was bitter. His pack didn't want me. The alpha took one look at me and said no. Too weak, too common, nothing special about my bloodline. Garrett tried to fight for me. I'll give him that. But when his alpha ordered him to choose between me and his position in the pack, she didn't finish, didn't need to. He chose the pack, Darius said. His voice carried violence barely leashed. He chose his family, his future, everything that made sense. Emily forced herself to keep talking, to get it all out before she lost her nerve. He told me he was sorry, that he cared about me, but I wasn't worth losing everything over. Where did you go? Nowhere, everywhere. I drifted for months, picked up work where I could, stayed in shelters, learned how to be invisible. Her chest ached with the memory. Then I met Marcus. Darius's hand found hers in the dark, squeezed once. Permission to stop or continue. Her choice. Emily chose to continue. Marcus was an alpha, not a king, but powerful enough. He ran security for one of the merchant guilds in the lower district. The words tasted like ash. He found me sleeping in an alley behind his building. Instead of calling the guards, he offered me a job, a room, safety. Let me guess, Darius said. It came with conditions. Not at first. For 3 months he was perfect, kind, patient, never pushed. I thought maybe I'd finally found someone who saw me as more than just... Emily's voice cracked. She swallowed hard. Then I went into heat. Darius's grip on her hand tightened. Not painful, grounding. He helped me through it. Said all the right things. That I was his. That he'd protect me. That we'd be bonded properly as soon as the heat passed. Emily's free hand pressed against her stomach. I believed him. Believed every word. And when the heat broke and I woke up alone, I told myself he was just giving me space. He wasn't. No, he was at the guild house, with another Omega, one from a good family, one worth claiming publicly. The pain of it still felt fresh, even though months had passed. His second-in-command found me packing, told me Marcus said to leave quietly, that what happened during my heat was biology, not commitment, that I should be grateful he helped me at all. You were pregnant. Darius's voice was flat, dead calm, the kind of calm that came before violence. I was pregnant, and I was alone. Again. Emily's laugh was broken. I didn't even tell him. What was the point? He'd already made his choice. Just like Garrett, just like everyone who ever promised they wouldn't leave. The room fell silent except for rain and Lysander's steady breathing. Then Darius spoke, and his voice carried a promise that felt like fate. Marcus is a dead man. He doesn't matter anymore. He matters. He hurt you, got you pregnant, threw you away like you were nothing. Darius shifted closer. Give me his full name, his location. I'll make sure he never hurts anyone again. And prove him right? That I'm just a complication to be dealt with? You're not a complication. You're our mate. A mate you didn't choose, with a child that isn't yours. Emily pulled her hand free from his. That's exactly what Marcus thought I'd be to him. A burden, a mistake, something that would ruin his reputation if anyone found out. We're not Marcus. Everyone says that, right up until they prove they are. Darius was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. You're right. We can't prove anything with words, only time and action. I don't have time. In a few weeks, everyone will smell the pregnancy. Your court will demand to know who the father is. Your advisors will tell you to reject me for political reasons, and you'll realize that claiming me costs more than you want to pay. Then they can try. We'll reject every one of them first. You can't just... Yes, I can. We can. We're kings, Emily. We don't answer to courts or advisors or anyone who thinks they get a say in who we claim. His hand found her face in the dark, thumb brushing her cheekbone. The only person whose opinion matters is yours. Emily's breath caught. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more. Lysander stirred. His arm around her waist tightened, pulling her back against his chest. Why are we having emotional conversations in the dark? His voice was rough with sleep. Did I miss something important? She told me about Marcus, Darius said. All traces of sleep vanished from Lysander's voice. The father? Yes. Where is he? Lower. Where? District. Merchant Guild. Good. Easy to find. Easy to kill. Emily twisted in Lysander's hold to look at him. You can't kill him. Watch me. I'm serious. So am I. Lysander's eyes glowed gold in the darkness. Dragon eyes. Predator eyes. He got you pregnant, then threw you out. That's not something that gets forgiven. It's not something that gets avenged either. I don't want you starting a war over me. It wouldn't be a war. It would be an execution. Lysander's voice was casual, like they were discussing weather instead of murder. Quick, clean. No one would even know it was us. I'd know. And I don't want his death on my conscience. Emily tried to pull away, but Lysander held firm. I want to forget he exists. I want to raise my child somewhere safe and never think about him again. Our child, Darius corrected quietly. Emily froze. What? You keep saying my child. But if you accept this bond, if you let us claim you properly, that child becomes ours. Legally, magically, in every way that matters. That's not how it works. That's exactly how it works. Hybrid bonds are absolute. When we claim you, everything that's yours becomes ours, including the life you're carrying. Lysander's hand moved to cover hers where it rested on her stomach. We're not asking permission. We're telling you what happens if you stay. Emily's heart hammered. You can't want this. Can't want me and a child that's not... Stop, Darius said. Stop deciding what we can and can't want. We want you, all of you, the broken parts, the scared parts, the parts that Marcus tried to throw away like garbage. His hand cupped her face, tilting it toward him even though she could barely see his features. He was wrong about you. Garrett was wrong. Every person who ever made you feel worthless was wrong. You don't know that. Yes, I do, because I can feel what you are through the bond. His thumb traced her lower lip. You're strong, resilient, brave enough to run. From two kings because you thought it was the only way to survive. And you're ours. I'm nobody's. Not yet, Lysander murmured against her ear. But you will be. The bond pulsed between all three of them. Want and need and something deeper that Emily didn't have words for. Her wolf whimpered, begged, demanded she stop fighting and just accept what was being offered. But accepting meant trusting. And trust meant vulnerability. And vulnerability meant pain when they inevitably left like everyone else. I can't do this, Emily whispered. Can't or won't, Darius asked. What's the difference? Can't means impossible. Won't means you're afraid. His hand dropped from her face. Only one of those is something we can work with. Emily's eyes burned. She blinked hard, refusing to cry. What if I'm both? Then we'll wait. For how long? As long as it takes. Lysander's arms tightened around her. But we're not going anywhere. Even if you run again, even if you keep pushing us away. We'll follow. We'll wait. We'll prove every fear wrong until you run out of reasons to doubt us. That could take years. We're immortal. We have time. The certainty in their voices should have felt like pressure, like obligation. Instead, it felt like a lifeline thrown to someone drowning. Emily's hand covered Lysander's where it rested on her stomach. He's going to come looking for me, Marcus, when he finds out you've claimed me. Let him, Darius said. I'm looking forward to it. He's dangerous. So are we. You don't understand. He has connections, resources. He could make things difficult. Emily, Lysander's voice cut through her spiral. Breathe. She tried. Failed. Again. With me. He inhaled slowly. Held it. Released. Match my breathing. Emily focused on the rise and fall of his chest against her back, on Darius's steady presence in front of her, on the bond that wrapped around all three of them like a net designed to catch her when she fell. Slowly, her lungs remembered how to work. Better? Lysander asked. No, but functional. Good enough. He pressed a kiss to her shoulder, just once, soft and completely devastating. Sleep, Emily. We'll deal with Marcus and everything else tomorrow. I don't think I can sleep. Try anyway. Emily closed her eyes, expected her mind to race, expected panic to claw its way back up her throat. Instead, exhaustion dragged her down like an anchor. The last thing she felt before sleep claimed her was warmth, safety, the impossible comfort of two hybrid kings who held her like she was something precious instead of broken. And for the first time since Marcus threw her away, Emily let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she could survive this. Not alone, but with them. Emily woke to soft light and the smell of coffee. For a moment she just lay there, disoriented by the unfamiliar softness of the bed, the warmth still radiating from where two bodies had pressed close through the night. Her hand moved to the space beside her. Empty. Both of them. Her wolf whined with something that felt like loss. Emily sat up, pushing hair out of her face. The storm had passed. Morning light filtered through windows streaked with rain, painting everything in shades of gold and amber. She found them in the kitchenette. Darius stood at the small counter, pouring coffee into mismatched mugs. Lysander leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching his brother with an expression that might have been amusement. She's awake, Lysander said without turning. I can hear her heartbeat. Darius glanced over his shoulder. Coffee? I shouldn't. The baby? It's decaf. I found it in the back of the cabinet. He held out a mug. Probably stale, but it's warm. Emily took it because refusing felt petty. The coffee was indeed stale, but warm and grounding in a way she desperately needed. How did you sleep? Darius asked. Better than I have in months. The admission slipped out before she could stop it. Something satisfied flickered across his face. Good. Lysander pushed off the wall, moved closer. We need to talk about what happens next. Emily's stomach tightened. I know. I have to leave before... No. His voice was firm. You're not leaving. We're taking you back to the palace. Officially. That's a terrible idea. It's the only idea that makes sense. Your court will never accept me. An Omega with no family, no pack, carrying another man's child? Emily shook her head. They'll tear me apart. Let them try, Darius said quietly. Anyone who speaks against you answers to us. You can't threaten your entire court. Watch me. Lysander moved into her space, not touching, but close enough that his scent wrapped around her. We're not asking permission, Emily. We're telling you what's going to happen. You're coming back with us. You're staying in the royal wing, and anyone who has a problem with it can take it up with our dragons. This is insane. Probably. Lysander's smile was sharp. But we're committed to it anyway. Emily looked between them, at two hybrid kings who'd somehow decided she was worth upending their entire lives for. Why? Why what? Darius asked. Why me? I'm nobody. I bring nothing to this bond except complications and a child that isn't yours. You could have any Omega in the kingdom. Someone with a proper bloodline. Someone who wouldn't damage your reputation. Why choose me? Darius set his mug down with deliberate care. Then he crossed to her, movements controlled and purposeful. When he stopped, they were close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Because when I walked into that club 3 nights ago, I wasn't looking for anyone. I'd given up on the idea of finding a mate decades ago. His hand lifted, fingers brushing a strand of hair away from her face. Then I saw you dancing, alone in the middle of that crowd, and something in my chest that I thought was dead woke up. Emily's breath caught. You looked at me, Darius continued, and I saw recognition, not of who I was or what title I carried, but of what I was, another person who'd been hurt badly enough to stop believing in fate. That's not... It is. You know it is. His thumb traced her cheekbone. I felt the bond snap into place before I even touched you. Felt it, and knew my life had just changed completely. And when we brought you back to the palace, when you let us close for one perfect night, I thought maybe, finally, fate had gotten something right. Emily's eyes burned. Then I ran. Then you ran, and I understood why. Darius's smile was soft, sad. Because I would have run too. If I'd been you. If I'd been hurt the way you've been hurt. Lysander appeared behind her. You asked why you. The answer is simple. Because we don't want perfect bloodlines or political advantages or someone who makes our court happy. His hands settled on her shoulders, warm and steady. We want the woman who was brave enough to run. From 2 kings. Who's strong enough to survive alone while pregnant. Who loves her child so much she'd rather risk everything than let us close enough to hurt it. That's not strength. That's fear. Fear that protects someone vulnerable is the bravest thing in the world, Darius said. Emily's vision blurred. She blinked hard, trying to clear it. You're going to change your mind. When it gets hard. When the court pushes back. When you realize how much easier your lives would be without me. Stop. Darius's hand cupped her face. Stop waiting for us to abandon you. We're not him. We're not Marcus or Garrett or anyone else who made you believe you weren't worth fighting for. You don't know that you won't. Yes, I do. Because hybrid bonds are absolute. Once we claim you, once the magic settles, there is no walking away. No changing our minds, no deciding it's too hard. His silver eyes burned into hers. You become part of us on a level most wolves can't even comprehend. Our souls literally bind together. If you hurt, we hurt. If you bleed, we bleed. If someone threatens you, our dragons will burn the kingdom down to keep you safe. Emily's hands trembled. That's too much. That's the bond. I don't want to trap you into something you'll resent. Lysander's laugh was low. You think we don't know what we're choosing? We've had the bond explained to us since birth. We know exactly what claiming you means, and we're choosing it anyway. Why? Because we're already trapped, Darius said simply. The bond happened the moment we saw you. Everything since then has just been waiting for you to catch up. A sob tried to claw its way out of Emily's throat. She swallowed it down, forced herself to breathe. I'm so tired of being afraid. Then stop. Darius's forehead pressed against hers. Just for today. Just for this moment. Stop waiting for the other shoe to drop and let yourself feel what the bond is offering. What if I can't? Then we wait longer, but we're not leaving, Emily. No matter how much you push, no matter how many times you run, we will always come back. The certainty in his voice broke something in her chest. Some wall she'd built brick by brick over years of disappointment and betrayal. I don't know how to trust you, she whispered. Start small. Trust us for the next 5 minutes, then the next hour, then the next day. Lysander's hands tightened on her shoulders. Eventually, it'll get easier. And if it doesn't, then we'll deal with that together. Emily closed her eyes, felt Darius's presence solid and sure in front of her. Lysander's strength steady behind her, the bond humming between all 3 of them, no longer pulling or demanding, just present, patient, waiting for her decision. She could keep fighting, keep protecting herself behind walls that had kept her alive but left her hollow. Or she could take the risk, let them in, see if maybe these kings were different from everyone who came before. Her wolf whimpered, begged, please. Okay, Emily breathed. Darius pulled back slightly. Okay, what? Okay, I'll try. I'll come back to the palace. I'll let you... She stopped, searching for words. I'll let you prove me wrong. Something blazed across Darius's face, relief and triumph and something deeper. That's all we're asking. Lysander pressed a kiss to the top of her head, soft, reverent. You won't regret this. I already regret it. His laugh vibrated through her back. Fair enough. Emily opened her eyes, looked up at Darius. But I need ground rules. Name them. No public claiming ceremony until after the baby is born. I can't handle your court scrutiny while I'm pregnant with another man's child. Agreed. I get my own room, at least at first. Darius hesitated. The bond will make that difficult. I know, but I need space to breathe, to think, to not feel like I'm drowning in proximity. Okay, your own room, but connected to ours. Connected how? Lysander answered. Adjoining doors, so if you need us, we're close, but you have privacy when you want it. That was more reasonable than Emily expected. Okay, and one more thing. What? Darius asked. No killing Marcus. Both kings went very still. Emily, I mean it. No hunting him down, no making him disappear, no using your power to destroy him. She pulled back enough to look between them. If you really want to prove you're different, prove it by letting him go. Let him be irrelevant instead of making him important enough to kill. Darius's jaw clenched. He hurt you. And I survived. That's all that matters. It's not all that matters to me. It has to be. Emily's voice was firm. Because if you go after him, you prove that you're just like every other alpha who thinks violence solves everything. You prove that I'm something to be avenged instead of someone capable of moving on. Silence fell thick and heavy. Then Lysander spoke, his voice tight. You're asking us to ignore every instinct we have. I'm asking you to choose me over your instincts, to trust that I know what I need. This is a mistake, Darius said. Maybe, but it's mine to make. The bond pulsed between them, tense, strained. Two kings fighting their hybrid natures versus one Omega asking them to be better than their base instincts demanded. Finally, Darius exhaled slowly. Fine, we won't touch Marcus, unless he comes after you. He won't. If he does, Lysander added, all bets are off. We're not letting him hurt you again. It was the best compromise she'd get. Okay. Darius pulled her close, arms wrapping around her with a possessiveness that should have felt suffocating. Instead, it felt like safety, like home, like maybe she'd finally found somewhere she could stop running. We're going to take care of you, he murmured against her hair, whether you're ready for it or not. I'm not ready. We'll wait. Lysander's arms came around both of them. But not too long. The bond is patient. We're not. Despite everything, Emily almost smiled. Almost. The moment stretched. Soft morning light. 3 people tangled together. A bond that promised forever, and Emily's stubborn refusal to believe in it completely. But for now, just for this moment, she let herself lean into them. Let herself feel wanted. Let herself hope that maybe these kings would be the exception to every rule she'd learned. And when they finally pulled apart, when Darius handed her more coffee, and Lysander started planning their return to the palace, something in Emily's chest settled. Not peace, not yet, but the beginning of it. The storm had passed, the world outside waited, and for the first time in months, Emily wasn't facing it alone. They made it 3 blocks from the safe house before everything fell apart. The streets were washed clean from the storm. Morning vendors had returned to their stalls. Life in the lower district moved forward like the world hadn't tilted on its axis the night before. Emily walked between Darius and Lysander, hyper-aware of their presence. The bond hummed contentedly, like it knew she'd stopped fighting. Her wolf purred. She tried to ignore the part of her brain screaming that this was too easy, that happiness was always temporary, that the universe had a habit of destroying anything good in her life. "We'll need to make a statement," Darius said, "when we arrive at the palace. Something that establishes your position before the court has time to speculate." "What kind of statement?" Emily asked. "That you're ours, that anyone who questions it answers to us." His hand found the small of her back. Simple, direct, impossible to misinterpret. Lysander added, "And we'll need to assign you a personal guard, someone who—" He stopped mid-sentence. Emily felt it half a second later, a shift in the air, a scent that made her blood run cold. Sandalwood and leather. Marcus. "Emily." His voice cut through the market noise like a blade. "Didn't expect to see you here." She turned slowly. Marcus stood 20 feet away, flanked by two wolves she recognized from his security detail. He looked exactly as she remembered. Tall, broad-shouldered, the kind of handsome that made people trust him before they knew better. His eyes swept over her, then landed on Darius and Lysander with calculated interest. "Marcus." Emily's voice came out steadier than she felt. "You've been busy." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Disappearing for months, then showing up in the company of hybrid kings. Should I be impressed or concerned?" Darius moved slightly, positioning himself between Emily and Marcus. "You should be leaving." Marcus's eyebrows rose. "Is that a threat?" "It's a suggestion. Take it while you still can." "I don't believe we've been properly introduced." Marcus's tone was pleasant, dangerous. "I'm Marcus Chen, head of security for the Eastern Merchant Guild, and Emily's former—" He paused, considering. "What would you call it, sweetheart? Lover? Protector? Mistake?" Emily's hands curled into fists. "Don't." "Don't what? Tell the truth?" Marcus took a step closer. His guards mirrored the movement. "These kings should know what they're claiming. What kind of Omega spreads her legs for any Alpha who shows her basic kindness?" Lysander moved faster than humanly possible. One moment he was beside Emily. The next he had Marcus pinned against a wall, forearm across his throat. "Say another word," Lysander's voice was dragon rough, "and I'll rip your tongue out." Marcus wheezed but managed to smile. "Territorial already? She must be something special." "She is." "Then you should know she's carrying my child." The words detonated like a bomb. Silence crashed over the street. Vendors stopped shouting. Wolves turned to stare. The entire district seemed to hold its breath. Emily's vision blurred. No, this wasn't supposed to happen. Not here. Not like this. Darius's hand found her shoulder. Steady. Grounding. "We know." Marcus's eyes widened fractionally. "You know?" "Yes." "And you're still—" He laughed, the sound sharp with disbelief. "You're claiming her anyway? Damaged goods carrying another man's bastard?" Lysander's arm pressed harder. "Keep talking. Please, give me a reason." "Lysander." Darius's voice carried command. "Let him go. I know what he did. Let him go anyway." Lysander released Marcus with visible reluctance, stepped back, but his eyes stayed gold, dragon eyes, hunting eyes. Marcus rubbed his throat, still smiling. "She didn't tell you the whole story, did she?" "We know enough," Darius said. "Do you know she begged me to keep her? That when I told her to leave, she cried and promised she'd do anything?" Marcus's gaze found Emily. "Do they know how pathetic you were? How desperate?" Emily couldn't breathe, couldn't move. The memory crashed over her. She had begged, had humiliated herself completely because she'd been terrified and pregnant and alone. "That's not what happened," she whispered. "No? Then tell them what really happened." Marcus crossed his arms. "Tell them how you threw yourself at me during your heat, how you said you loved me, how you promised we'd be perfect together." "I was in heat. You knew I wasn't thinking clearly. You seemed pretty clear when you were screaming my name." Darius moved then, not with Lysander's explosive violence, but with something colder, more controlled. He crossed the space between them in 3 strides and stopped inches from Marcus. "Here's what's going to happen," Darius said quietly. "You're going to apologize to Emily. Then you're going to leave this district, this city, this kingdom, and you're never going to speak her name again." Marcus laughed. "Or what? You'll kill me? Over some packless Omega who spreads—" Darius's hand shot out, grabbing Marcus by the throat. Not choking, just holding. But the threat was clear. "I won't kill you," Darius said. "That would be too quick. Instead, I'll destroy everything you've built. Your position with the guild, your reputation, your connections. I'll make sure every pack in this kingdom knows exactly what you did to a vulnerable Omega during her heat, how you used her, impregnated her, threw her away like trash." Marcus's face paled. "And when you have nothing left," Darius continued, "when you're the one sleeping in alleys and begging for work, maybe then you'll understand what you put her through." "You can't. I'm a hybrid king. I can do anything I want." Darius released him. "Now apologize." Marcus looked at Emily. Whatever he saw in her face made his expression shift. For just a moment, something like regret flickered across his features. "I'm sorry," he said. The words sounded sincere, almost. "For what?" Darius pressed. Marcus's jaw tightened. "For how I treated you. During and after your heat. You deserved better." Emily wanted to feel vindicated, wanted his apology to heal something. Instead, it just felt empty, too late and not enough. "Leave," she said quietly. Marcus nodded once. Then he turned and walked away, his guards following. The crowd parted for them. Within seconds, they disappeared into the market's maze. Silence stretched. Then Lysander spoke, his voice still rough. "I should have killed him." "No," Emily said. "You shouldn't have. He humiliated you, in front of everyone. And you proved he was wrong. That's enough." Lysander looked like he wanted to argue, but Darius's hand on his shoulder stopped him. Emily became aware of the stairs, dozens of wolves watching them, watching her. She could practically hear the gossip already spreading. The hybrid kings claiming a pregnant Omega, Marcus's accusations, the spectacle they'd just created. "We need to move," Darius said, "before this gets worse." They walked quickly through the district. No one approached, but the stairs followed. Emily kept her head up, refusing to show how much Marcus's words had cut. How the shame burned through her like acid. She'd begged. God, she'd begged him to keep her. Had promised anything, everything, if he'd just let her stay. The memory made her sick. When they finally reached the car waiting at the district's edge, Emily climbed in without speaking. Darius and Lysander settled on either side of her. The door closed, the engine started, and Emily shattered. Not with tears, with something worse. Cold, empty. The feeling of every wall she'd lowered snapping back into place. "Emily," Darius started. "Don't." He lied. Most of what he said was true. Her voice was flat. It was true. I did beg. I did throw myself at him. I did everything he said. "You were in heat." That doesn't make it less humiliating. Emily stared straight ahead. That doesn't change the fact that I was pathetic, desperate, exactly what he called me. Lysander's hand found hers. "You were surviving. I was weak." "No, you were human. There's a difference." Emily pulled her hand away. "You heard him. You heard what everyone thinks of me. Damaged goods carrying a bastard. That's what I am to them. That's what I'll always be." "Not to us," Darius said. "For how long?" Emily finally looked at him. "Until your court makes it too difficult? Until the political pressure gets too heavy? Until you realize claiming me costs more than I'm worth?" "That won't happen. You can't know that." "Yes, I can. Because the bond doesn't matter." Emily's control cracked. "Don't you understand?" Marcus felt the bond too. Not as strong as a true mate bond, but he felt something during my heat. Connection, claim. And it still wasn't enough. He still threw me away. Silence fell like a hammer. Darius's face went carefully blank. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying bonds break. Promises get forgotten, and I'm tired of pretending this will be different. Emily's hands shook. You said you'd prove me wrong, that you'd wait as long as it took, but you can't prove anything, because I don't believe you. I don't believe anyone anymore. Emily, take me back to the safe house. What? I'm not going to the palace. I'm not doing this. She met Darius's silver eyes. I need space, time to think, without the bond pushing me toward decisions I'm not ready to make. Lysander leaned forward. If you run again, I'm not running. I'm choosing myself, like I should have done from the beginning. The car went silent except for the engine's hum. Outside, the city passed by. Normal, oblivious. Like Emily's world wasn't collapsing again. Darius pulled out his phone, gave the driver quiet instructions. The car changed direction. 3 days, he said finally. We'll give you 3 days at the safe house, alone if that's what you need. But then we're coming back, and we're having this conversation again. What if I still say no? Then we'll wait longer. But we're not giving up on you, Emily, no matter how hard you push. Emily turned to look out the window. Her reflection stared back, hollow-eyed and broken. She'd almost believed them, almost let herself hope. But Marcus's words had reminded her of the truth. She wasn't worth fighting for, wasn't worth the complications she brought, wasn't worth anything except what she could provide during a heat. The sooner she accepted that, the sooner she could stop disappointing people who deserved better. Even if those people were hybrid kings who looked at her like she hung the moon. Especially then. The safe house felt different without them. Emily stood at the window watching night fall over the lower district. 3 days. That's how long she'd been alone. 3 days of silence broken only by the bond's constant hum, a reminder that distance didn't sever what had been started. Her wolf paced, restless, furious with her for choosing isolation over pack. We don't have a pack, Emily whispered to the empty room. We never did. But that wasn't true anymore, was it? She pressed her hand against the glass. Cold seeped through, grounding her. Somewhere across the city, Darius and Lysander were waiting. Probably planning. Definitely coming back when the 3 days ended. Tomorrow. They'd be here tomorrow. And Emily still didn't know what she'd say. Her phone sat on the table, untouched for hours. She'd turned off notifications after the first day when messages started flooding in. From numbers she didn't recognize. From wolves who'd witnessed the confrontation with Marcus. From people who suddenly wanted to know the Omega crazy enough to run from hybrid kings. She'd read 3 before deleting the app entirely. The first, you're an idiot for pushing them away. Do you know what some of us would give for that bond? The second, Marcus was right. You're damaged goods. Those kings deserve better. The third, don't let fear win. I ran from my mate and regretted it every day since. 3 messages, 3 different voices, all of them wrong and right in ways that made her chest ache. A knock at the door made her jump. Emily froze. It was too early. The 3 days weren't up. Unless they'd changed their minds. Unless they'd decided waiting was pointless. She moved to the door. Who is it? Someone who understands running. A woman's voice, older, familiar. Emily opened the door. The old woman from the market stood there, the one who'd warned her about the king's hunting. Up close, her milky eyes held intelligence that sight couldn't diminish. May I come in? The woman asked. Emily stepped aside. The woman entered slowly, her movements careful, but not weak. She settled into the chair near the window like she'd been there before. You're still here, the woman observed. I thought you'd be at the palace by now. I needed space. Space. Is that what we're calling fear these days? Emily's jaw tightened. I'm not afraid. Liar. The word was gentle, not accusatory. You're terrified. I can smell it from here. You don't know anything about me. I know you ran from a bond most wolves would kill for. I know you're pregnant and alone and convinced that accepting help is the same as accepting weakness. The woman's expression softened. And I know because I did the same thing 60 years ago. Emily sank into the chair across from her. What happened? I ran from my mate. He was an alpha from a powerful pack. I was nobody, orphaned Omega with more trauma than sense. The woman's hands folded in her lap. I convinced myself he'd change his mind, that his pack would reject me, that I wasn't worth the fight he'd have to wage to keep me. Were you right? No, I was a coward. The words held no bitterness, just truth. He spent 5 years looking for me. 5 years of his life wasted chasing someone too afraid to be found. By the time I finally stopped running, he'd moved on, found another mate, built a life without me. Emily's throat tightened. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Learn. The woman leaned forward. Those kings of yours? They're not going to move on. Hybrid bonds don't work that way. They'll wait decades if they have to, centuries. They'll watch you build a life alone while the bond slowly kills all three of you. It won't kill us. Maybe not physically, but it'll hollow you out. Make you wonder every day if you made the right choice, if fear was worth the loneliness. The woman stood. I came here to tell you something I wish someone had told me 60 years ago. What? Being brave doesn't mean not being afraid. It means being afraid and choosing anyway. She moved to the door. Your kings aren't perfect. No one is. But they're willing to fight for you. The question is, are you willing to fight for yourself? The door closed softly behind her. Emily sat in silence. Her hand moved to her stomach where her secret grew. In a few weeks, the pregnancy would be visible, undeniable. And then what? Raise her child alone? Teach them that love was conditional and trust was foolish? Or take the risk? Let two hybrid kings prove they meant every impossible promise. Her. Wolf whimpered. Please. I know, Emily whispered. I know what you want. But it wasn't about what her wolf wanted. It was about what Emily could survive. And she was so tired of just surviving. Across the city, Darius stood on the palace balcony, watching stars emerge through clearing clouds. You're brooding, Lysander said from the doorway. I can feel it through our bond. I'm thinking. Same thing. Lysander joined him at the railing. 2 more hours, then the 3 days are up. She's not going to come with us. You don't know that. Yes, I do. I can feel her through the bond. She's already decided. Darius's hands gripped the stone railing. She's convinced she's not worth the fight. Then we prove her wrong. How? By dragging her here against her will? By forcing the bond until she has no choice? Darius shook his head. That's not a life. That's a prison. Lysander was quiet for a long moment. So what do you suggest? I don't know. The admission tasted like failure. Every instinct I have screams to claim her, to bind her to us so completely she can't run. But that's not what she needs. What does she need? To choose us, not because the bond demands it, not because we're kings who won't take no for an answer, but because she actually believes we mean it. We do mean it. I know, but she doesn't, not yet. Darius turned to face his brother. Marcus destroyed something in her, something that might take years to rebuild. We have years. Do we? Darius's jaw tightened. She's pregnant. In a few months, she'll have a child to protect. If she thinks we're a threat to that child's safety, she'll disappear so completely we'll never find her. She wouldn't. Yes, she would, because that's what mothers do. They protect their children even from themselves. Darius moved toward the door. We need to give her a choice, a real one, not an ultimatum wrapped in pretty promises. What kind of choice? Stay or go, claim or refuse, with no consequences either way. Lysander's eyes widened. You can't be serious. I am. The bond will hurt. It'll hurt all of us. But pain is temporary. Regret isn't. Darius stopped at the threshold. If we force this, she'll never trust us. She'll spend the rest of her life looking for the door, waiting for us to prove her fears right. And if she chooses to leave, then we let her go. We make sure she's safe. We support her and the child from a distance. and we hope that someday she'll be ready to try again. Lysander swore viciously. I hate this. So do I. But you're right. Lysander scrubbed a hand over his face. Damn it, you're right. They stood together in silence, two hybrid kings facing the possibility that their mate might choose fear over fate. Tomorrow, Darius said finally. We go to her tomorrow. We lay it out clearly. Stay or go. Claim or refuse. No pressure, no manipulation. And if she chooses wrong, then we wait, and we hope that eventually she'll choose right. Lysander's phone buzzed. He pulled it out, read the message. His expression shifted. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Marcus filed a formal claim with the Merchant Guild, says the child is his, that he has rights. Ice flooded Darius's veins. He can't do that. He just did. Guild law is different from pack law. If he can prove paternity, he won't get the chance. Darius was already moving. Get the car. We're going to see Emily now. The 3 days aren't up. They are now. They moved through the palace with purpose. Guards scrambled to follow. The car was ready within minutes. As they sped toward the lower district, Darius felt the bond pull tight. Emily was still at the safe house, still alone, still unaware that Marcus had just declared war. Faster, he told the driver. The city blurred past. Every second felt like an eternity. If Marcus reached her first, if he used guild law to try and take her child, Darius's dragon roared beneath his skin. Not happening, not while he still breathed. Beside him, Lysander's eyes burned gold. If he touches her, he won't. Darius's voice was absolute. Because we're going to get there first. The safe house appeared ahead. Lights on, door closed. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Darius was out of the car before it fully stopped. Lysander behind him. They hit the door together. It wasn't locked. Inside, Emily stood at the window. She turned as they entered. Her expression was calm, resolved, like she'd been expecting them. You're early, she said. Marcus filed a claim, Darius said. No preamble, no softening. He's trying to use guild law to establish parental rights. Emily's face went pale. He can't. He told me to get rid of it. He changed his mind, or he's using the child to hurt you. Either way, we need to move. Now. Move where? The palace. Where guild law doesn't apply. Where we can protect you properly. Darius crossed to her. I know we said 3 days. I know we promised space. But Marcus just forced our hand. Emily looked between them. This is my fault. I should have... No. Lysander's voice cut through her spiral. This is Marcus being exactly what we knew he was. A bastard who hurts vulnerable Omegas. I'm not vulnerable. You are if guild law gets involved. They don't recognize mate bonds. They don't care about hybrid authority. If Marcus pushes this, it goes to arbitration. And arbitration could take months. Darius's hands found her shoulders. Months where he has access to you. Where he can harass you legally. Where we can't do anything to stop him without starting a war. Emily's breathing quickened. Her hand moved to her stomach. Protective. Instinctive. Come with us, Darius said quietly. Please. Let us protect you the way we're meant to. I don't... Her voice broke. I don't know if I can trust you. I know, but trust this. We will never ever let him take your child. That's not a promise. That's a fact. Emily closed her eyes. Darius felt her fear through the bond, felt her desperation, her exhaustion, and underneath it all, a tiny flicker of hope she was trying desperately to smother. Okay, she whispered. I'll come with you. Relief crashed through him. You will? Not because I trust you. Not because I believe this will work. She opened her eyes. But because my child deserves protection, I can't give them alone. It wasn't acceptance. It wasn't love. But it was a start. Darius moved first, his hand extending toward Emily, not grabbing, just offering. She stared at it, at the choice being presented in the simplest possible form. Take his hand or don't. trust or walk away. Her wolf surged forward, desperate. Emily's fingers closed around his. The bond flared, warm, immediate, like her body had been waiting for this exact moment to remember what home felt like. "Thank you," Darius said quietly. Emily nodded because words felt impossible. Lysander was already at the door, phone pressed to his ear. "Marcus filed the claim 2 hours ago. We need guild records pulled before he can build a case." He paused, listening. "I don't care what strings you have to pull. Do it." The car waited outside. Same black vehicle, same driver who didn't ask questions. Emily climbed in, Darius and Lysander flanking her again. The door closed. The engine started. And Emily realized with startling clarity that she'd just made a choice she couldn't take back. "What happens now?" Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "Now we get ahead of this," Darius said. "Guild law has loopholes. We exploit them." "How?" "By establishing that you're under royal protection, that any claim against you goes through us first." He pulled out his phone, fingers moving quickly. "It's not perfect, but it buys us time." Emily watched the city pass by, the lower district fading into cleaner streets, buildings growing taller, more expensive, the physical evidence that they were entering territory where hybrid kings held absolute power. "He's not going to stop," she said. "Marcus, he'll keep pushing, keep finding ways to hurt me." "Let him try." Lysander's voice carried deadly promise. "The moment he steps into royal territory, he's ours." "You said you wouldn't kill him." "We won't. But there are things worse than death." His smile was sharp. "Ask anyone who's tried to threaten what's ours." The palace appeared ahead, all glass and stone and impossible beauty. Guards stood at attention as the gates opened. The car pulled through without stopping. Emily's heart hammered. This was real. She was actually doing this, accepting protection from 2 hybrid kings who looked at her like she was precious instead of broken. The car stopped at a private entrance. Darius got out first, then offered his hand again. Emily took it, letting him help her from the vehicle. Cool night air hit her face. Above, stars scattered across dark sky. The palace loomed, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. "This way," Lysander said. They led her through doors that opened without them touching, down hallways wide enough for 10 people to walk side by side, past art that probably cost more than Emily would make in a lifetime. Everything screamed wealth and power and permanence. Emily had never felt more out of place. They stopped at a door. Darius pushed it open. "Your room." Emily stepped inside and froze. The space was enormous. A bed large enough for 5 people dominated the center. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, a sitting area, a bathroom visible through an open door that looked bigger than the entire safe house. But what made her breath catch were the details. Soft blankets in shades of green and cream, pillows that looked cloud-soft, a bookshelf filled with titles she recognized, books she'd mentioned loving once in passing conversation. They'd been listening, paying attention, building a space meant specifically for her. "The doors connect to our rooms," Darius said, gesturing to 2 entrances on either side. "But they lock from your side. You control access." Emily moved deeper into the room, her fingers trailing over soft fabric. "This is too much. It's barely enough." Lysander appeared beside her. "You deserve more." "I don't deserve anything." "Stop saying that." His hand found her chin, tilting her face up gently. "You deserve everything. Safety, comfort, people who fight for you instead of throwing you away. And whether you believe it right now or not, we're going to prove it." Emily's eyes burned. She blinked hard, refusing to cry. What if Marcus wins? What if guild law sides with him? It won't. But if it does? Darius crossed to stand on her other side. "Then we'll deal with it, together. No matter what happens, you're not facing this alone." The word "together" settled into her chest like a stone. Heavy, solid, real. "I need to sit down," Emily said. They guided her to the bed. She sank into softness that felt like being held. Darius and Lysander remained standing, giving her space even though the bond pulled tight between all three of them. "Can I ask you something?" Emily looked up at them. "Anything," Darius said. "Why me?" "Really, not the bond answer. Not fate or destiny or any of that. Why would you choose this? Choose me and all the complications I bring." Darius was quiet for a moment. Then he sat beside her, not touching, but close. "Do you remember what you said that night at the club, before we brought you here?" Emily shook her head. "You said you just wanted to feel something real, even if it was only for a few hours." His silver eyes held hers. "That's when I knew. Because I've spent decades feeling nothing, being nothing except the role I was born into. And then you looked at me like I was a person instead of a king, like you saw something worth knowing underneath the power." "That's not special," Emily whispered. "That's just basic decency." "It was everything." Darius's hand covered hers. "You have no idea how rare that is, how most people look at us and see weapons, tools, things to be used or feared, but you saw us." Lysander sat on her other side. "And you didn't want anything from us except honesty. You didn't care about titles or wealth or what we could give you. You just wanted to not be alone for one night." His voice softened. "That's why because you're real in a world full of people pretending." Emily's throat closed. Tears spilled over despite her best efforts to hold them back. "I'm so scared." "We know," Darius said. "What if I can't do this? What if I try and fail? What if the bond isn't enough?" "Then we try again. And again. Until it stops being scary." Lysander's arm came around her shoulders. Careful. Gentle. "We're not going anywhere, Emily. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever." The dam broke. Emily turned into Lysander's chest and sobbed. All the fear and pain and exhaustion she'd been carrying for months poured out in ugly, gasping cries that shook her entire body. And they held her. Both of them. Darius's hand rubbing slow circles on her back. Lysander's arms steady and sure, neither trying to fix it or make it stop. Just present, patient. Exactly what she needed. Time passed. Emily couldn't say how long. Eventually the tears slowed. Her breathing evened. The tight knot in her chest loosened just enough to breathe. "I'm sorry," she mumbled against Lysander's shirt. "For what?" "For being a mess. For crying all over you. For being difficult." "You're not difficult. You're surviving." Lysander pressed a kiss to the top of her head. "And you're allowed to cry. Allowed to be scared. Allowed to take as long as you need." Emily pulled back, wiping her face with shaking hands. "I don't know how to let people in." "Start small," Darius said. "Let us take care of the Marcus problem. Let us make sure you're safe. That's all. Just that one thing." "And then?" "Then we figure out the next thing. One step at a time." Emily looked between them, at Darius with his controlled strength and patient eyes, at Lysander with his sharp edges and unexpected gentleness, at two hybrid kings who could have anyone but chose her. "Okay," she whispered. "One step at a time." Relief flooded both their faces. Darius's hand found hers again. Lysander's arm stayed around her shoulders. The bond hummed. Content. Like it knew something Emily was only beginning to understand. "You should sleep," Darius said. "It's been a long day. Will you stay?" The words came out before Emily could stop them. "Both of you. Just until I fall asleep." "Yes," they said in unison. They helped her under the covers, Darius on her left, Lysander on her right. Not touching beyond hands and shoulders, just present. Solid. Real. Emily closed her eyes. Exhaustion pulled at her, heavy and insistent, but for the first time in months, she wasn't afraid to sleep. Wasn't afraid she'd wake up alone. "Thank you," she breathed. "For what?" Lysander asked. "For not giving up on me." Darius's thumb traced patterns on her palm. Never. Sleep dragged her under. warm and safe and surrounded by scents that smelled like home. Her last conscious thought was simple, clear. Maybe, just maybe, she could do this. Maybe she could choose trust over fear. Maybe these kings would be different. And maybe that would be enough. 3 months later, Emily stood at the window of her room watching snow fall over the city. Her hand rested on the swell of her stomach, visible now, undeniable proof of the life growing inside her. Behind her, the door opened. She didn't need to turn to know who it was. The bond told her everything. Pine and ash, Darius and Lysander. "You're thinking too loud again," Lysander said. Emily smiled. "Can't help it." He appeared beside her, his hand covering hers on her stomach. "How's the little one?" "Active. Keeps kicking me." "Smart kid. Already fighting back." Darius joined them at the window. The guild officially dropped. Marcus's claim this morning. Insufficient evidence. No grounds for appeal. Relief flooded through Emily. "It's really over?" "It's really over." He turned her to face him. "You're safe. The baby's safe. Marcus has no legal standing to ever contact you again." Tears pricked her eyes. Happy tears this time. "I can't believe it." "Believe it." Lysander's arms came around her from behind, careful of her stomach. "You're ours now, officially, completely, and nothing is ever taking you away from us." Emily leaned back into him, letting Darius press close in front. The bond wrapped around all three of them, stronger than it had been months ago, built on trust earned through time and patience, and two kings who'd proven every promise. "I love you," she said. The words were still new, still scary, but true. Darius's smile was soft. "We know." "We've known," Lysander added. "We were just waiting for you to figure it out." Emily laughed. "Smug bastards." "You're smug bastards." "Yes," she agreed. "Mine." Outside, snow continued to fall. Inside, 3 people stood together in a room built on hope and second chances. Not perfect, but real. And for Emily, real was everything. She'd run from fate once, fought it, denied it. But fate had waited patiently. And when she finally stopped fighting, it gave her exactly what she needed. 2 hybrid kings who saw her completely. A child growing safe and loved. A future she'd built herself through courage she hadn't known she possessed. Emily closed her eyes and let herself feel it all. The warmth, the safety, the love that had been there all along, waiting for her to be brave enough to accept it. "Home," she whispered. Darius's arms tightened around her. "Yes." And finally, after years of running, Emily believed it. She was home. Thank you for joining Emily on her journey from fear to love, from running to choosing, from broken to whole. This story is for everyone who's ever felt unworthy of a second chance, for every person carrying scars, from someone who should have protected them, for anyone who's had to choose between fear and trust. Emily's story reminds us that healing isn't linear, that choosing yourself first isn't selfish, that real love waits, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop running. Which moment touched you most? Did Emily make the right choice? Team Darius or Team Lysander? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe for more original stories, like if this made you feel something real. And remember, you deserve people who fight for you, not people you have to fight to keep. You are worthy of love exactly as you are.